Hello noble ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking. Today I would like to talk about a game that has been announced at E3 and it's For Honor. Now this game, I think we're all looking forward to it because it seems like an interesting game. It's medieval combat, so we like these kind of games. But I would like to comment a little bit about the actual video that I am going to watch with you in a minute, and actually make a little commentary to see how much of a historical situation it actually is what we are seeing. So without further ado, I would like to begin with the actual video and the commentary. So the game was made by Ubisoft, so let's see how well they managed. So the first image we have here, helmets, swords. Now, in the very first situation, we have three characters that you're going to see in a few seconds. There you go. So let's pause for a second. Now, looking at these three gentlemen here, these three knights, I have already something to say about their equipment and gear. Now, don't get me wrong, it looks good, it's well made, and the helmets they're wearing, they are actual historical helmets, but the problem is the armor that they're wearing with these helmets. Now the helmets we see, for example, the one in the middle is a great helm, and the one on the right, that's also a great helm, or pot helm, or bucket helm, or however you want to call it. But I will get back to that one, because the one on the right is the worst one actually of these three. But so the thing is, the armor they're wearing is a full suit of armor. Look at the pauldrons, complete pauldrons, and big pauldrons, actually a little bit of it Milan style perhaps. In fact, I would have actually had them probably as symmetrical ones, but still. We have a full plate, cuirass, we have articulated arms, gauntlets, and I see proper folds. And the problem with that is that fully articulated armor, suit of armor, is a late medieval thing. So we're talking about 1420 at least. Whereas the great helm is a high medieval kind of helmet. As a matter of fact, the most typical combination that we would see is a great helm with mail armor, not with full suit of armor. This does not mean I'm not trying to say that great helms were completely discontinued. However, particularly the one in the middle, they kept on using it for quite a while actually, but not a knight who could have actually afforded a full suit of armor. We are talking about a nobleman probably, because a full suit of armor would be very expensive. And since you have spent so much money for your equipment, considering the full plate armor, why buying a great helm? You should be wearing, this gentleman in the middle here should be wearing a closed helmet, should be wearing with a proper gorget, or gorget if you want to use the French pronunciation. He should be wearing a Maximilian helmet, he should be wearing any kind of closed helmet, even a pig-faced helmet which has a movable visor that can be hinged up would be better than a great helm. A great helm has a lot of problems of ventilations, problems of visions, and actually going back to the one on the right, the pot helm on the right, that one would be called an enclosed helmet or a primitive great helm. So the one on the great helm in the middle is actually futuristic compared to the one on the right, which is the first development of a nasal helmet into a great helm. So the one on the right was discontinued after 1240. There is no chance of a knight in full suit of armor wearing one of those. So this is the first thing I argue, the anachronistic choice of helmets together with the full plate armor we have. They should have been wearing mail armor, and if you want them to wear full suit of armor, then change the helmets. They should be wearing Maximilian helmets, closed helmets, or maybe even a proper armored. Now, continuing with the video, so we have seen these. The normal soldiers are wearing kettle hats. They look rather English. Nothing to say against them. It's okay, and Gambesons, I think. Now, the other faction here, they look like Vikings. I mean, look at the helmets, look at the way they are, the beard. They definitely are inspired by Vikings. The problem I have here, and let's pause the video for a second. Now, don't get me wrong, I know it's a game, people like Vikings and people like knights, but the Viking age ended in 1066 when William the Conqueror, the Duke of Normandy, invaded Britain. Now, the Great Helm was created with the Crusades, so we're talking about 1099. So that's when it was developed. So the kind of knight that we would have seen during the Viking Age would have probably been something like this. So more of a, like the Norman knights, for example. So we're talking about mail armor, nasal helmet. The kind of knight that we picture with the great helmet and everything is a little futuristic for Vikings to face, particularly Vikings who fight in Britain against the Brits. Okay, so it's a very different situation. Just to clear things up. Again, I understand from a gameplay point of view, it's interesting, but again, kind of strange to see. Moving to the next faction, the samurai. Here again I have something to say, and I would like to begin by talking about how this samurai actually looks. And then I will talk about the fighting styles. I'll be pausing the video a couple of times here. Now, first of all, the katana looks good, so okay, nothing to say against that. Kind of good, but the armor he's wearing is a little strange. First of all, the kabuto, or the helmet, is a little odd because first of all it's a bit too small, and the visor, the mask, doesn't really look like a samurai mask to me. It looks like an anime robot face more than anything. And I would have preferred to see horns on top of the helmet, but I imagine that those would be either DLC or something you can unlock through gameplay, so I'm not going to talk about that. The rest of the armor, I don't know why, but the look, it reminds me of a samurai, but it doesn't look very historical. I mean, the European lads before looked quite legit, again, anachronistic and strangely placed, but every piece looked good. But this looks very strange. First of all, it looks like metal plates, and I think I can see some mail underneath it. And yes, some Japanese did use mail armor, kusari, called kusari, which means chain. But again, the way it's mixed up, it looks a bit strange. So let's move forward to the actual way of fighting. Right. Stop. Now you have already lost me here. I don't like much the way he attacks, he strikes. Look at his body, it's all the way forward. And the very first thing that I was taught when I was in Japan studying kendo was to actually keep my back straight during my attacks. But again, he's in the bulk of he's fighting in this melee combat situation in the middle of battle. So alright then, style, never mind. But what is it doing? He is cutting, he is slicing. Sorry, but you can't cut through European full plate armor. That's absolutely impossible. I know that some of you really like katanas. I like katana, but we need to be historical here, and we need to be realistic. A katana is a weapon created in Japan for a specific purpose, cutting people. And it's true, it's a very good cutting weapon, but it cannot cut through European plate armor. That's just wrong. Okay, and this kind of fight never happened. Japanese samurai against full plate, late medieval full plate armor knights. No, it never happened. It would be a very interesting topic, knight against samurai. I know many people like this topic. I will talk about this topic, but here I just want to talk about one problem: cutting through plate. Now, I know that there are some videos out there that I don't particularly like, where they show like a katana against a medieval cuirass, and they try slicing it and hitting it, and yes, it dents a little, but you can't really, you can pierce it. But again, what kind of cuirasses are they using? They're probably using $100 worth of cuirasses hanged on a wooden stick. If you really want to do this test, a katana cutting through European full plate armor, what you need to do is take 20,000 euros, have a proper blacksmith produce an amazingly high quality full plate armor, high tempered steel please, and then wear it on top of a few layers of clothing, gambeson, arming doublet, mail armor, and then full plate. And then look where he is cutting. He's cutting at the belly, at the stomach. That's where the plate armor had its thickest point, and I'm talking about good quality plate armor. But since the opponent is a knight, he's probably a nobleman and has enough money to buy something like that. And that's where you have 2 layers of plate in most of the times, particularly if it was Italian kind of armor. So double protection, and he's slicing it as if it was, I don't know, just clothing. Makes no sense. So, and it keeps on going like that. It keeps on cutting through full plate armor. It's impossible. The only thing you could do with a katana against a full plate armored knight, considering it's a rather stiff blade, would be to try and pierce those areas such as the armpit or other areas, or considering these knights don't wear gorget, I don't know why, then you could try and pierce there. But something like this is very stupid. I don't like it, and I think considering the budget they have, they could do much better than this. Now, continuing with the video, it keeps on slicing and killing people. I liked how he pierced that one there. And then we move to, again, Vikings against Knights. Now, don't get me wrong, the animations are amazing and the pathos is fantastic. The only thing that I'm evaluating here is history. So from a technical point of view, it's good. Look at these swings. Again, she cuts through mail armor and gambeson as if it was just a normal t-shirt. I don't like that. And the samurai, again, here is fighting against the Knights. Then I think he's calling for archers' reinforcements, and the archers start shooting fiery arrows that basically slaughter everyone there. And depending on, well, yes, arrows are very strong and powerful against even plate, but again, everyone dying like that, a bit strange, I think. And here, this fight here is amazing. I really like the way it's done, but I have a problem with this, and I will tell you that now. Now, again, the fight here was fantastic. It was breathtaking. I was watching it all the time. I was actually supporting the knight. It was like, yeah, go ahead, knight, kill him. But the problem is the end of the fight. I don't like this old mistake that everyone makes, particularly villains in films, of swinging the final attack, the final attack that would have actually killed the opponent. Look at how much he raised his arms. Makes no sense. And then, as a matter of fact, this samurai here took advantage of that and actually pierced his throat. And this goes back to the very first point that I had. No gorget. No gorget. Why is he not protecting his neck? He has got complete full suit of armor, but he only has mail here, the mail coif. Again, the way he killed him, though, I'm not saying that it's impossible to penetrate mail. It can be penetrated, but not so easily. I mean, he went all the way through with probably a 90 centimeters long katana blade all the way up to the hilt. It means that not only he penetrated mail, but he also penetrated the other side of mail on the neck and went all the way through. I mean, he would have to have such an amazing strength to do this. So again, a bit of penetration, okay, but complete penetration like that, going through so many rings that would have probably been either buttered or riveted, at least, it would not be that easy. So this is a little strange again. Going back to the video again, so the poor knight now is dead and the Viking is back. I like how you can see, well, again, the fighting, it looks good, but again, two-handed weapons against sword and shield against Viking. It's a mixture. What happened here? Look at the mail, though. It looks very nice. I like the mail of the Viking. It looks very beautiful, although this is obviously not a gameplay video. It's just computer graphics. And again, so we go on with the rest of the video. So they keep on fighting here, slicing each other up, and I really like what happened here with this gentleman. So the knight here instead has beaten the samurai. Now let's talk about how he did it and the technique he's using here, because this is a historical technique. The problem is the way it was executed. Now what he basically did, he changed the grip of his sword, grabbing it from the blade, in order to use the sword, the hilt of the sword, to hit the opponent, the samurai. This is something that happened historically, and I have already covered this topic in another video. But the problem is the reason why it was done. This was done when you were confronting full plate armor, for the very reason that I talked about before. You cannot cut through full plate armor. So since you can't cut through plate armor, the best option would be to use either maces, warhammers, and other specialized poleaxes and specialized armors, weapons used to destroy, and not destroy, sorry, but to dent or damage plate. But if you did have a sword and you didn't have a mace, then switching the grip and using the hilt of the sword as a hitting, to hit the opponent with that would have been good, because since you can't cut, at least you can have some impact force. But the problem here is that he's using it to actually pierce the opponent, as if the hilt was a pointy weapon. But this makes no sense, because if you, first of all, it's not okay. You can't pierce through a person's with your with a rounded ending of your weapons, of your sword's hilt. But the other problem is, if you really wanted to pierce, you would grab the sword from the blade, but you would do half swording. And if you don't know what half swording is, half swording means you grab your sword from the blade and the hilt, so with both hands, and you try to pierce with it. That is a lot more effective than this if you want to pierce. This is for impact damage. So basically with a sword you can cut with normal grips, you can have impact damage with this grip here, and you can have piercing damage, reinforced piercing damage with half swording, which I would be very happy to see. So what he's doing here makes no sense. And if some people argue and say that the blood that it's coming out from the shoulders of the samurai is not because he pierced, but it's because of the blade, well, this would also be debatable, because first of all, there is blood on the hilt after this scene, so you will notice that it was pierced by the hilt. But even if it wasn't, and it was cut by the blade, first, it would make no sense to do that. It would just normally cut with the front of the blade. And also, the part of the blade closer to the hilt is called forte, and the reason why it's called forte is because it's less sharp, so it's very difficult to cut with that, because since it's less sharp, there is more metal and it's more resistant, so it's good for defending, not attacking. So in all cases, this scenario here makes no sense. So now he kicks him and kills him. Very nice. I like the technique they used as far as the video is concerned. The computer graphics and animations are fantastic, but not much historical coherence, I'm afraid. Now, I still want to try this game, so when it will be released, I will buy it and show you some gameplay videos if you want me to. But for this historical evaluation, it's the end, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and remember, the Metatron has spread his wings.